At 4ZZZ, we acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we broadcast. We pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging of the Turrbal and Jagera people. We acknowledge that their sovereignty over this land was never ceded.
And we stand in solidarity with them.
You're listening to Transmission on 4ZZZ, amplifying the trans and gender non-conforming voices of Brisbane and beyond.
Good morning, Meanjin. You're listening to Transmission on 4ZZZ. My name is Ez. I use he, him pronouns. Transmission is all about amplifying the voices of the trans community in Meanjin and beyond. And we usually talk about events and news and interviews. And today I'm going to be filling you in on some events that you might be interested in, as well as having an interview with a professor from Griffith University, quantum physics, in fact. I don't know a whole heap about it, so if you don't either, then I'm the right person for this interview. We're going to have a chat I won't give it away just yet, but I'm really excited about that. First up, let's do the week in community events. So tomorrow, to date, the episode, if you're listening back on the podcast, is the 17th of May, which is Ida Hobbit Day, which is International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, and Transphobia. It's a really important day, and there's an event that's happening today on the 16th of May, 3 p.m. It's online. It's the Introduction to LGBTQIA plus Inclusion. So it's all about how to build inclusive spaces, and it's all in honor of International Day Against LGBTQIA plus discrimination by the -A team education team. So it's going to be presenting a digital, interactive, live stream introduction into all that. Yeah, whether you're an individual in a workplace, school, or community organization, this is an in-depth training which will equip you with the knowledge you need to champion inclusivity all year round. So not just on Ida Hobbit Day. The conversation will cover off of things, the overview on terms and identities, the difference between sex, gender, and sexuality, evidence-based barriers LGBTQIA plus people face at work and accessing services, recommendations and practical tools to support LGBTQIA plus people interpersonally and professionally. You're going to hear some lived experiences from the community via their experienced workshop presenters, and there's also an opportunity to ask questions throughout the session. So yeah, that's going to be today at 3:30 p.m. online. I'll pop the link up there on the Transmission Facebook page at Transradio with a Z. Then also, coming up on the weekend is, not this weekend, but Friday the 26th of May at 9 p.m. at Bad Luck in the Valley. You've got the Cutaways. If you don't know about the Cutaways, you should. They're a local icon. Emmy's lead singer. She's been on Transmission before and a really good friend. She's wonderful. If you like to check out the Cutaways, they sell out pretty quick. So I'm mentioning it because they're a very popular band. They usually perform, this gig in particular at Bad Luck on Friday 26th is going to be with Ghost College, Burnt Trash, and Mistakes. Tickets are $10. Then Saturday the 27th of May, from 7 p.m. is Banshee's 5th birthday. Banshee's Bar and Art Space in Ipswich. Banshee's is turning 5 years old as part 2 of a all-weekend party that they're throwing. It's going to be a loud and raucous punk night. This is all about the attitude, and we've packed out the lineup with 3 of our faves. So there's going to be Flanger Pannies, Kuroshi, and Toowoomba's finest, Kathleen Turner Overdrive. Tickets will be $15 on the door. Looks like there's also going to be a prize pack that you can win from a draw from your ticket at the door as well. So the contents will be finalised close to the date, but are a collection of stickers and merch from bands that have played at Banshees in the past 12 months. Oh my goodness. All right, I'm going to get my diary out. I'm going to put that in. I want band merch. I'm obsessed. There you go. Banshee's 5th birthday on the 27th of May in Ipswich. Yeah. Then there's also, last event that I'll mention, is Trans Talks, which is Saturday 3rd of June. It's a little bit a while away, but I thought, this is really important. Trans Talks, it's for the community. It's a completely free event and it's online. It's a workshop that's designed to empower you as a trans or gender diverse person to express yourself through poetry. You'll be guided in a safe, encouraging environment. You needn't have any experience or think of yourself as a writer. All in the community are welcome, and this will be led by Ricky Spencer. So yeah, that's 3rd of June. 10 a.m. till 1 p.m. and it's online. So yeah, super accessible, that one there. Amplifying the voices of the trans and gender non-conforming community of Meanjin, Brisbane and beyond.
Transmission on 4ZZZ brings you the latest in trans community news, music and events.
Every Tuesday from 9am till 10am.
Join our team of hosts for an hour of celebrating the unique perspectives of the trans community.
Transmission, Tuesday mornings from 9am till 10am on 4ZZZ. You're listening to Transmission on 4ZZZ. My name is Ez. I use he, him pronouns, and Transmission's all about amplifying the voices of the trans and gender non-conforming community. And today we're going to have a special chat with a theoretical physicist from Griffith University, Professor Joan Vaccaro. Joan, how are you?
Yeah, hello, Ez. Yeah, I'm fine, thanks.
Thank you so much for joining us on this wintry morning. I'm glad it's over the phone. You can stay inside.
Yes.
So would you like to tell us a little bit about what you do?
Well, so I study quantum physics, and my main interest is in time, the physics of time. So trying to understand what time is. And there hasn't been that much progress over the centuries. We've had some breakthroughs at different points, but it's progress on time is very slow.
Is that a pun or?
Yes, that's a pun.
That's good. I like that. And so, how long have you been doing that for?
It actually coincided with me transitioning from male to female. So about 2007, I was lecturing in a really nice course. It was called Life, the Universe and Everything, where we covered everything in science and a bit of philosophy as well, trying to understand where we are. And I was giving 5 lectures on time. And I wasn't happy with what was being, what I was actually talking about. And it just got me thinking. And from then on, I started looking at there was a particular puzzle that I needed to solve and made some progress since then.
And so some of the, I guess, like working through time and working through yourself, there was some sort of overlap between there with your identity at the time. Yeah,
well, it's just coincidental, I think. I don't know. Maybe it was just being brave. So I did something that was really quite brave in my personal life as well as in research, because to actually tackle this thing in research was to go against the accepted norms and the way that we think about time. It really needed to have another assessment of it. And so this theory that I'm working on, it's actually quite successful so far. It starts off by not making any difference between space and time, and that you can move backwards and forwards in time, just like we can move around in space. And then there are certain quantum features that come into play, and then we end up with seeing our evolution in time, the way that we experience it, like we're constantly moving forwards. But it's got a lot of spin-offs from it, so which are the really interesting bits. And
do you think that your experience as a trans woman influences how you perceive time when you're working through this research?
No, I don't think it does. No. I think it's just the way I think about things in general. But it's actually good. I think being trans is more about seeing through the conventions and understanding that the conventions that bind normal thinking. So I like to dabble in philosophy as well, and it really helps. I mean, physics has an impact on philosophy in terms of things like free will. So physics, models of the universe from a physical point of view are that it's deterministic, and that doesn't allow free will. And, you need an unconventional view to appreciate these things. So I think it helps. I think I have an advantage in some ways of being unconventional. I think that's, I guess not directly in terms of what, like time, but it's just that being able to go beyond the normal bounds,
Yeah, and I suppose that is also the theory of having a lot of diversity in your research and all research projects, because then you have a variety of lenses that people are seeing things through.
That's it. Yeah, you can swap lenses. Yes. That's it.
I always like to think about something that I think it was Brian Cox said about time, which is that, the Earth is spinning through the universe in a place that it will never be exactly in that spot in the universe ever again, because everything is always moving. And it made me think of like time in the sense that time is also maybe a place that exists. So at this moment on May 16th in Brisbane, Australia, this moment will exist forever sealed in the capsule of time. And so that's kind of, is that sort of a similar sort of, do you sort of feel time that way?
Well, okay, so the conventional view is that the universe is a four-dimensional block. It's called the block universe. And the four dimensions comprise 3 dimensions of space and 1 of time. And things are fixed. Even the future is fixed. So the past is fixed, and it's not even logical to speak about the present. So in the way that you said that there is this thing that's fixed, this event on 16th of May and so on, there's also the 17th that's fixed there as well. So the whole thing is fixed. And it challenges feelings of free will, because tomorrow is going to happen, or it's already happened, in fact. The way I started was to, we have this thing about moving through time, and there are certain logical problems with thinking about it like that, but we don't have, there's a greater symmetry here, that we seem to be moving through time, but we're not moving through space necessarily. We can move through space if we want to. And the thing that keeps things moving through time are what we call conservation laws. Like we say that mass is conserved. Like you can get a cup, a china cup, that you might drop it and it cracks and it falls, into little bits of porcelain and things like that. But it's still, the matter that it's made of is still there. So its shape changes, but the matter remains. And we call that conservation of mass. But we don't have the same thing over space. Like we don't say that, the same bit of matter has got to be everywhere in space. It's localized in space. The cup is just a cup. It doesn't fill the whole universe. But the matter has to be there all through time. So it's like filling time. And
right.
So there's an asymmetry between space and time, just like that. So I did away with conservation in time and just said, well, look, maybe you can have things that exist just momentarily in time and they disappear. So it's a little bit like your event, the 16th of May and so on, but this is like a galaxy exists just for a moment. So that would violate conservation. This galaxy appears and disappears suddenly. And that's how I started this theory, was to base it so that space and time were the same. And so things could be placed in time, just like you can place them in space. And there was no conservation laws and there was no time evolution, because people living in the galaxy that just exists for the moment wouldn't, they just come into existence, they disappear. It's very strange. But you kind of have to get outside our normal thinking in order to do this work. And then there was a discovery back in the 1950s about break in symmetries, fundamental symmetries, so that there's a difference between, if you took a mirror image of the Earth, of the universe,
taking a photo.
If you look at the universe through a mirror, I should say, everything is back to front. But the laws of physics are actually different in the mirror image. They don't transfer over. So that was discovered in the 1950s. It's called parity violation. And there was a hint that there was going to be something to do with time as well. T violation to do with the violation of symmetry and time. It wasn't confirmed. We suspected it for a long time. In the 60s, there was another discovery which also pointed towards the symmetry and time. And then in 2012, it was confirmed directly that there's this asymmetry in time. So if you kind of had a mirror to time, then you would get a different kind of different laws. Well, a slightly different law.
So are you trying to say that the person I'm looking at in the mirror is operating in a different realm than myself?
Well, it's not
quite.
It's not quite. It's just that if you change X, the coordinate system, X, Y, and Z, if you do this thing where you change the X into minus X, Y into minus Y, and Z into minus Z, that's like a mirror reflection. It's changing everything around. And the laws of physics prefer one. They have a preference for one orientation of X, Y, and Z and not the other. And that was discovered. Like, we don't understand, we're working on, and we understand the implications of it, but that is a big find. The laws of physics.
I didn't even know that.
Prefer we call it a handedness. The universe prefers a handedness, and there's this complementary one which is about time. So if time was reversed, you would get slightly different evolution. It's not a major thing, like you don't see anything really weird happening, but there are subtle things, and they're subtle enough that I wanted to explore that asymmetry in time, so I made space and time look exactly the same, then added this asymmetry to the time, and then found I've got time evolution. So I've got the things like before you could put the galaxy at one point in time and it disappeared and it only existed at that time. Then with this T violation, if you put that into the theory, and it only works for time, that you get this time evolution where the galaxy can't stay at that time. The moment that you put it, it exists for all time. So it seems to show where time is coming from. So this is symmetry. And we're moving to the future. That's our perception, is that we're moving to the future. So there's an asymmetry there. We don't move to the past. And this break in symmetry, a T violation, explains that as well. So.
And how long have you been working on this?
Well, since 2007. I work on other things. I do other things as well. But this is it's so hard. I published the first paper in 2011, so it took 4 years to write the first paper to get a result. And then 2015 was another one, and then 2016, and now I'm building up to some more work. It's just finishing.
Yeah, wow.
And eventually, the thing that I'm going to publish soon, I'm working with colleagues on this, and that's Einstein's relativity is automatically part of the theory. Like, it's not something that you have to add to the theory, but you show where Einstein's relativity comes from. And that's when if you're moving, clocks slow down. So a moving clock will be slower than a stationary clock. And that comes out as a Doppler shift of this T violation. It just works out naturally. That's the amazing thing. To actually uncover something as profound as relativity, that's a big thing. So, and another colleague, an experimentalist, did an experiment to test the theory in Sydney at our nuclear reactor. We've got a research nuclear reactor in Australia, which is only one. It doesn't produce power for the grid. It just produces radioactive materials for medicine and things like that, and for doing other kinds of research. And when you have a nuclear reactor, it produces neutrinos. They're a waste. They go right through the Earth. They take away about 5% of the energy as a loss. But these neutrinos, they're tiny particles, they travel near the speed of light. And they exhibit this T asymmetry, this asymmetry in their evolution. And when you have more T asymmetry, clocks will go at a different rate. So that the T violation or T asymmetry, that's the thing that makes us move through time. And if you have more of it, you move through time at a different rate.
Wow! So
in local areas around,
we're getting close to getting a time machine. We're getting close to having a time machine if we can figure that out.
In a way, it opens up. It doesn't rule that out. Like, there might be things we can do, fiddle with the T violation, and maybe we can do something. I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at the other stuff at the moment.
It's sort of crossing into science fiction a bit more.
Possibilities. You're absolutely right. I don't know. Yeah.
We don't know. Thank you so much, Joan, for joining us on Transmission this morning. You're very passionate about what you do, so it's lovely to hear you talking. What do you have to do to get involved or to be a student with you and learn about quantum physics and time?
Well, what you should do is take a degree in physics, Bachelor of Science, and then go on to do honours and take a PhD.
Oh, wow. There we go.
Yeah.
All right, There we go. We've got some trajectories for any of our trans people out there who'd like to be a physicist. Yeah. You know that Professor Joan Vaccaro is out there at Griffith University.
At Griffith University.
Yeah. Studying time. Thank you so much for giving us some of your time this morning.
Yeah, you're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
My name is Georgie Stone, and you're listening to Transmission on 4ZZZ.
All right, you're listening to Transmission on 4ZZZ. My name is Ez. I use he, him pronouns. And we're going to have a little bit of chat about Ida Hobbit Day, which is International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia and Transphobia, which is May 17th. And it aims to coordinate international events that raise awareness for LGBTQA+ issues, rights, violations, and stimulate interest in what are our rights worldwide. There's a really cool website, idahobit, idahobit.org.au. You can go there and it's got all the information you need about whether you're in the community or outside the community, how you'd like to make things more inclusive and so on. Yeah, you can check all that out. I'll pop that up on the Transmission social media as well, at Trans Radio with a Z. Yeah, there's also coming up something I want to have a brief chat about because we're nominated is the Queen's Ball, which is a Brisbane Pride event, which is Saturday, 17th of June at 6:30 p.m. at Brisbane City Hall. The theme is Wear Your Pride, and it is an 18-plus event. There are lots of really cool community organisations and people and First Nations folk and just, drag performers and... yeah, there's so many great people. A lot of them we've had on Transmission over the course of the 50 episodes today, that we've had of the show, including Archie. And Transmission is also nominated in 2 categories, and Kai and myself are nominated as for activists. So I don't know who out there nominated us, but thank you very much. And, it is an absolute honour to be considered for these awards in the community because... we don't always know what impact we have, and it can be kind of challenging because I'm in a studio and I'm all by myself today, for example, and I don't know who's listening and I don't know who's out there and I don't always know what members of the trans community are feeling the importance of the program, or is it important to you, or anything like that. So having a nomination and being celebrated at, by Brisbane Pride is really, really wonderful. So yeah, thank you so much everyone for doing that. I would like to say though, just on that note, Queen's Ball is not a cheap ticket. It's like $150 if you want a table down on the floor. Otherwise, you're up in the nosebleeds for still like quite a bit of money, I would say. And I did put a post up on my personal social media about how I would not be able to attend the Queen's Ball because I can't afford that. Can't afford that ticket. I know a lot of trans people who can't afford that ticket. I know a lot of First Nations people who can't afford that ticket. Every time I have gone to Queen's Ball, which is once, by the way, and I was warned before going, that it is a very cis white male-centric event. And it is. I can confirm that with my own eyes. And I did feel a little bit like last Brisbane Pride's Queen's Ball made me feel as a trans person a little like I was being trivialized as some tokenistic thing that we can point at and go, oh look, members of our community are suffering. Let's help them. Anyway, let's just watch them drag and have some fun and drink champagnes. And it felt quite patronizing from a community that's supposed to be prioritizing the rights and celebrating the acceptance. I don't know if I'm really in a position to be celebrating acceptance personally as because to feel pride, I need to feel less shame. And in order for that to happen, I need society to stop shaming trans people. And so when I go to these pride events and such, it doesn't feel very real. It feels quite corporate. And I have people in my community, in the trans community, here in Meanjin, around the world that are dying. There are talks of genocide in the US. Talking to a trans person from the US is extremely painful at the moment. So when I think about paying $150 for a ticket to be nominated to go see a bunch of cis white dudes drink champagne, kind of really feels awful. So as much as I'm serious, I really, really love the nomination and I'm grateful. But maybe you could do something for the community that are literally dying. And, we need it. We need it now more than ever. The stats are pandemic levels of death for the trans community. So Brisbane Pride, if you're listening, maybe there's something you can do. And if you're going to say things like, oh, but we need the money for fundraising, well, maybe find a venue that isn't Brisbane City Hall then. Make it more affordable. I don't know. If you've got a community that's suffering and you're willing to just focus on the money you got to make for your stuff, I don't know what to tell you, but it feels quite demeaning. Not a huge fan of it. Anyway, just having a rant, typical Transmission on a Tuesday morning. Thank you so much for tuning in to Transmission, and we will see you next Tuesday. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Transmission. See you next Tuesday, 9 to 10 a.m. on 4ZZZ.